What's up and what's happening? Welcome to the Vibe with Big Heavy podcast. This your boy Big Heavy, and today I will be doing a news reaction. Teen migrant causes officer to suffer a heart attack and pass away. Don't know what's going on. I haven't watched the story. Gonna watch it with you guys. Let's check it out.
Stop. Turn around. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
A teenager is charged with manslaughter after a Florida officer collapsed and died following this struggle.
Don't walk away from me.
No, sorry.
Don't pull away from me. I'm checking you for what? Get your hands away from your... Stop.
No.
Stop.
A portion of the body cam video released online from the May 19th incident captures a police officer calling in dispatch and approaching a teen who can be seen walking outside a local motel in St. Augustine, Florida.
Stop. 422 St. John's. 1012, single 13 P. Hispanic male, white t-shirt, black shorts, Super 8 16, 3576. You be 54 to me. Stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The teen in the white t-shirt was identified as 19-year-old Virgilio Aguilar Mendez, an indigenous Mayan farm worker originally from Guatemala. Aguilar Mendez was reportedly on the phone with his mother when approached by St. Johns County Police Sergeant Michael Kunovich. When Sergeant Kunovich begins to question Aguilar Mendez, the teen expressed he did not understand what was being said because he couldn't speak English.
Okay, why when I was driving around... Oh, stop.
Eating.
Okay, but why did you get up and walk away?
Huh?
When you saw me, you got up and walked away. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
But you need me to go for drinking.
Where are you staying?
Huh?
Where are you staying? Sleeping?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand it's a language barrier, and the officer should understand that too. And at the same time, you could tell the officer is being getting frustrated because he don't understand what the young man is saying. But from my understanding, the young man is answering to the best of his ability, because even I understand that when the officer asked him why did he get up and move when he came, he said basically because I was drinking, which means he was somewhere drinking, maybe sitting where he was at drinking. He seen the officer because he knew he was under the influence and he's trying to make it home. That's what I get from it. I don't know. Let's see what it's going.
Here?
Yes.
Well, why aren't you eating inside?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
What?
I'm sorry. Speak.
Okay, I've got something coming. Okay, do you have any ID and identification? License?
What?
ID, identification.
Yeah.
In the room?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your first name?
Huh?
Your first name?
I'm sorry. I'm speaking.
Okay, do you have any weapons on you?
Huh?
You have any weapons on you?
No.
Well, you know what that is. Turn around, let me look.
No.
Turn around.
No.
Turn around.
Bye.
When Sergeant Kunovich attempts to search Aguilar Mendez for weapons, the teen still struggles to understand the officer, and that's when the incident takes a turn.
Don't walk away from me.
No, sorry.
Don't pull away from me. I'm checking you for what? Get your hands away from your...
No.
Stop.
No.
Stop.
No. I'm sorry. Oh.
Another officer arrives on scene to assist Kunovich as Aguilar Mendez repeatedly can be heard saying, "I'm sorry."
Stop. Turn around. Get on the ground.
See, that's what I don't like, no matter what the situation is so far. He studied pleading, saying he's sorry, and don't really understand why he's being grabbed and attacked by these officers. I think the officers should be more trained into dealing with people with language barriers, or at least have an officer that they can call to the scene to assess the situation. That's just me. Let's check it out.
Get on the ground.
The body cam video then ends after that moment. Sergeant Kunovich died from a heart attack, and Aguilar Mendez was charged with murder. His charges were later reduced to aggravated manslaughter of a police officer, which in Florida carries a max sentence of 30 years in prison.
This is a unique case because you're talking about foreseeability, you're talking about proximate cause issues here. And so it's going to be a tough case for any prosecutor.
I spoke with Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg. While his office was not responsible for charging Mendez Aguilar with manslaughter, he understands why the charges were brought against him.
When I first saw it, though, I know the state attorney up there, and he's a good guy who obviously wants to do justice in every case. This case, I do think, can get to a jury. I think he has a good faith basis to file the charges. It just would be an uphill battle because it depends exactly on what was foreseeable and how much the medical examiner could say that the scuffle led to the officer's death. But in the end, the state attorney is left with an individual who is an undocumented immigrant who resisted arrest with violence and led to the death of a law enforcement officer. So you can see why the state attorney there was quick to file charges. The question is whether those charges will stick. Well, every community is different. We all represent different places here in the state of Florida, and what would lead to a conviction up in that district, in St. Johns County, Volusia County, that circuit up there is different than what would lead to a conviction in Palm Beach County. I can say that that case would be unlikely to result in a conviction here in Palm Beach County. That would.
First off, my opinion is he shouldn't be in jail. The officer, I know he was performing the arrest and the guy resisted, which caused him to have a heart attack. But at the end of the day, I feel like police officers should be checked by medical examiners regularly. I think after a certain age, you shouldn't even be out there wrestling with suspects being an officer. Just my opinion. Let's see where this goes.
Be something to influence our filing decision, because as state attorneys, we have to have a good faith belief that we can get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. And knowing judges and juries here in our community, it would be very unlikely that we could get a conviction for anything above resisting arrest with violence. But keep in mind that resisting arrest with violence is a felony in Florida. It's a third-degree felony. And so there are legitimate grounds to file felony charges.
Here's what we didn't see from the body cam video. According to a police report from the incident, Aguilar Mendez had a folding pocket knife inside his shorts pocket. While the body cam video doesn't show the knife, Aguilar Mendez allegedly grabbed the knife from his pocket, and that's when the officers tried to disarm him. Aguilar Mendez reportedly told the officer he needed the knife to cut up watermelon, seemingly referring to his job. According to
Okay, I didn't know the boy reached for a weapon. No matter the situation, he reached for a weapon. The officers gotta go hands on. But at the end of the day, I still don't feel like he should be doing no jail time over this situation so far. Let's go.
reports the struggle lasted 8 minutes. During that time, the officers pinned and pushed the teen to the ground as the teen begged for his family. Police reportedly held him in a chokehold and stunned him with the taser 6 times in 2 minutes. Right after the altercation, the teen is placed into cuffs and put into a patrol car, and that's when Kunovich suffered a heart attack. According to an autopsy report, Sergeant Kunovich died from natural causes after suffering from cardiac dysrhythmia, which may have been a result of severe heart disease. The autopsy also reportedly noted Kunovich had a prior heart attack or heart and lung deterioration due to smoking.
I understand why the advocates are upset, because he's facing 30 years in prison, and the medical examiner ruled that the officer's death was of natural causes. If the officer's death was not foreseeable, if it was not proximate cause of the resisting, then I don't see how they're going to get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt for that first-degree felony. But at the very least, there is a good faith basis and I think enough evidence to sustain a conviction for resisting arrest with violence. Even though there is a language barrier, the individual did resist, and I think that's something that a jury would have to sort out.
So here's what we know about Virgilio Aguilar Mendez. According to a previous motion filed by his public defender, Aguilar Mendez arrived to the U.S. 2 years ago at 17 years old to provide a better life for his family. He was held at a federal detention facility for minors until his release. He later traveled to St. Augustine to work at the local farms. While Aguilar Mendez learned some Spanish previously, his native language is ma'am. On the night of his arrest, he was reportedly outside the Super 8 motel where he stayed with other migrant workers, eating a meal outside and talking with his mother when approached by Sergeant Kunovich. According to reports, officers recovered cash, a cell phone, lighter, pocket knife, and his motel room card from Aguilar Mendez.
Well, the question is whether the officer had probable cause to make an arrest, and it seems like he did. But then the question is, can he make the stop? Does he have reasonable suspicion to make a stop? And that's something that would be litigated in the courts. That's something that the court can decide that there was not the basis to even stop him in the first place. But so far, the fact that he's being held without bond shows that the judge has already found that probable cause existed to make an arrest. And because you have the immigration status and because you have the language barrier, he's being held longer than someone else would without a hearing because of all the extenuating circumstances. I understand what the advocates are saying. I can understand looking at this from the outside that it looks like something that is not justice. But on the other hand, the prosecutor is had a good faith basis to prosecute this case as a resisting arrest with violence. And I think based on the facts, he could pursue it as something more.
But now there's an indefinite pause on the case. During a December competency hearing, Aguilar Mendez was declared by the courts as mentally incompetent to stand trial due to his lack of understanding of the U.S. criminal justice system. And with the issue of competency at play, Ehrenberg says there's a brief flaw as that system was set up for people with mental illness, not people who have to deal with a language barrier.
The craziest cases seem to always happen in Florida. I have faith in the system and the process. I know it can be very frustrating to people because of the delays, but the reason why this defendant is behind bars awaiting trial is because he's undocumented and also because there's a language barrier, that he speaks a language where there is not an interpreter in that area. The issue I would have is that the competency system, which is designed to send someone to a hospital to get competent while they await trial, is really designed for people with mental illness. It's not really designed for someone who's not competent because they don't speak the language. If he was a defendant down here in South Florida, there would be an interpreter available for him, a Mayan interpreter. But because he's in North Florida where there is no interpreter available, it complicates matters. And I would hope that a judge could have a hearing so that they could determine whether or not he's able to stand trial or can get a Mayan interpreter so that he's not just kept behind bars indefinitely.
And if there was an instance where there's not a mime interpreter, what would happen in that case?
Eventually, he would be let free. If he's not restored to competency, then he would be let free. That's what happens even in cases of mental illness. We don't keep people behind bars indefinitely for life unless they've been convicted of something. And if there's nothing that can help him understand the proceedings around him, then he would be set free. But look, he's already served like 8 to 9 months, and that's more than he probably would have received even if he was found guilty of that third-degree felony of resisting arrest with violence.
Until the issue.
Okay, I got my own opinion about this situation, and I know a lot of people is going to disagree. I don't care about him being a migrant. The migrant part don't bother me. What bothers me is it's a young man who didn't understand the English language, the U.S. language, the English language, whatever you want to call it. And him and an officer had a misunderstanding. Okay, the officer loses his life. Rest in peace to him. I don't wish death on nobody. But at the end of the day, they explained that this officer had a heart attack before. He had heart failure issues. Why is he still on the streets pulling over suspects? Now, the young man was going to a hotel with multiple migrants that live there and work from that space, which makes me believe that the officer knew he was dealing with a migrant. First off. So to me, I feel like he was kind of picking with the youngster. It went too far. They had a little issue. The officer health was bad. He passed away. Now you got a young man in jail for 9 months, which he'd have been out of jail for if he was charged for the crime. I don't know. I don't understand that. I'm going to leave it there. Gone.